And on our YouTube page. Now, for more, I'm pleased to say Daniel Lacalle, Chief Economist at Tresis Gestion, joins us now. So, Daniel, Spain's economy, it's been a clear outlier in terms of growth. So why are investors looking to Spain now? And what do you think countries like Germany and France could learn from how Spain's economy has progressed?
Thank you very much. I think that what's happening has been very clearly outlined in the report is that the boom of tourism added to the massive inflow of European Union funds have certainly helped the Spanish economy, and that the export sector is doing quite well. Companies have adapted strongly to a challenging international environment. All those things help headline GDP. But we also must remember immigration has played an important factor, and that is certainly debatable because GDP per capita, adjusted for purchasing power, has basically not moved in the past 5 years. So there are a lot of challenges in Spain. Obviously, the environment for investors is very positive in the solar sector, in the clean energy sector, and also we have seen that Spanish companies have diversified their activities abroad, so the IBEX is doing very well thanks to the internationalization of companies. But I wouldn't say that there is a lot that France or Germany can learn from Spain, because France and Germany cannot export the tourist model, and certainly they are not as big beneficiaries of the Next Generation EU fund. So the Spanish economy needs to take these years to adapt and get into a fiscal consolidation that has not happened yet the way it should be, and certainly needs to get a stronger element of job creation and youth employment, which is a big challenge these days.
Go back to some of those challenges in a minute, but I'm also quite interested to hear, when we talk about tourism has been one of the key pillars of growth for Spain, and you mentioned there also about green energy, the solar panels, but outside of that, what are the other industries that Spain is really developing so that it can get this more long-lasting growth?
Basically, at least what we have seen is that Spain is not focusing, for example, on the construction and real estate sector. But we can't forget that the real estate sector has also been a big driver of this growth. But I would say that if you look, for example, at some of the technology sectors, they have been developing a little bit in the last 5 years, and that there is an important challenge ahead because foreign direct investment is still significantly below the 2018 levels. So Spain needs to adjust its taxation, needs to adjust a lot of the concerns from investors that drive a lower level of investment that it should merit. And I think that that could certainly boost foreign direct investment. Reducing taxes and reducing the regulatory burden is obviously two elements. Also a very important factor, about 70% of the foreign direct investment that goes to Spain goes to Madrid, which is the region that has the highest level of economic freedom. So that's an example to follow for the rest of Spain.
And Daniel, Spain's economic growth is expected to remain high this year and next. So how long do you actually see this growth lasting? Because you highlighted some of the challenges that Spain has there on the economic front, the high rates of youth unemployment, and also the vast amount of public debt that Spain has racked up.
I think that the likelihood of Spain performing relatively well in terms of headline GDP in 2025 and 2026 are elevated. The questions remain on whether the enormous inflow of EU funds have generated enough traction to be a motor, to be a vehicle that helps the economy strengthen in periods in which tourism is not as strong. And in general, what I would say say is that the most important factor is that any type of change, reducing bureaucratic burdens, reducing the elevated tax wedge, all those would certainly work very rapidly as a boost to the economy. So if there is a change in policies and the government focuses on reducing the elevated tax wedge, particularly in labor, which is enormous, and labor costs have risen about 50% in the past 5 years. So all those things, once addressed, can generate a very strong boost to the economy. So hopefully the Spanish economy could avoid the risk of an elevated or a grave recession as it happened in the past. So what we can imagine is that if those things are addressed, it could help boost the economy and reduce the risk of big boom and bust cycles, which unfortunately plague the Spanish economy.
Dan, I want to jump in here just because we don't have much time, but I really wanted to get your thoughts because you mentioned the policy there, and we also talk about the fragmented political scene in Spain as well with Pedro Sanchez. He's got a minority government, so they're struggling to handle both a housing crisis, a cost of living crisis. So what do you make of that, and how does that play into the outlook for Spain?
Unfortunately, the political landscape continues to be very, very tense, and it's not likely to get any easier anytime soon because there are a combination of corruption scandals as well as very aggressive challenges in terms of meeting in the middle to achieve long-term state type of agreements. However, I think that things are also changing, and that there could be also an important drive coming from the civil society demanding that the government and the rest of the parties that conform its minority coalition really get together to address the challenges, especially once the EU funds stop coming in, because that is going to be an enormous burden on the economy. Obviously, those EU funds currently are adding to GDP, but then they subtract. So and some of them will have to be returned. In fact, so we need to pay a lot of attention to that, and hopefully the political landscape is going to get better.
All right,
maybe
Daniel,
with an election.
So sorry to interrupt, but we have to leave it there. We're out of time. Thank you so much to Daniel Lacalle, Chief Economist at Tresis Gestion. That is it for today's show. I'm Ritika Gupta. Squawk Box Europe is up.
Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel, like my videos, leave your comments below, and keep defending freedom. Thank you very much.